So hello everybody, welcome back to our CMA classes. So yes, we were doing some of the sections of PGBP and let's continue with some sections in this lecture. Okay, by the sequence we have section 41 subsection 1, but I am not going to do it now. Definitely I am going to cover this, but at the end of this lecture. Okay, so yes, let's start with section 43A double A. Okay, so in this case I am going to cover three sections, okay, which is 43A, 43 double A and ICDS 145 subsection 2. These three are related to foreign exchange fluctuation. Okay, so let me read it guys, so it would be more easy for us to understand what is written in this section. Okay, section 43A, when the asset is purchased from where? From the outside India. Okay, so definitely that asset is going to be purchased in foreign currency, as this asset is purchased from the outside India. Okay, then what is going to happen? Liability is going to arise. Okay, and here either supplier is going to give us the credit ticket to the SSC, to the person who have purchased the asset from outside India. Okay, so here the liability is going to arise, and by two cases is going to arise here. Okay, first either the supplier is going to give the credit or the loan is taken, है ना, तभी तो we can pay the payment. Okay, so these are the two things going to happen. Okay, this is going to be the liability. Okay, liability is going to arise in here, either by way of supplier credit, definitely you have to pay it back, right, or taken the loan from any of the institution. Okay, for then also you have to pay the payment, okay, with installments and all. Okay, so yeah, here when the payment is done, again two scenarios is going to happen. Foreign exchange gain is going to arise or foreign exchange loss is going to arise. Okay, so we have to identify how we are going to recognize these foreign exchange gain or foreign exchange losses, okay, in our accounts, book of accounts and all. So at the time of payment, it is to be recognized at absolute cost. Okay, which means record, to show in the record basically. Okay, but the payment is not done, we know this. Okay, okay, but what about the rate? Rate is going to be purchase foreign exchange rate. Okay, purchase foreign exchange rate, not for the sale purpose. Okay, so rate is going to be purchase foreign exchange rate. Okay, now I am going to give you some of the cases. Number first case, but at the time of payment. Okay, earlier at the time of purchase we recorded at the absolute cost in the records, okay, to show it the transaction have occurred here. Okay, now when at the time of payment, at the time of actual payment I'm talking here. Okay, so as I told you, there are two cases, either gain is going to arise or loss is going to arise. So okay, when gain is going to arise, the SSC have to pay the tax. ठीक है, इतनी बात मुझे पता है. Definitely if gain is going to arise, I have to pay the tax to the government. ठीक है, then P&L में treatment is to be done. ठीक है, but what about if loss is going to arise? You need not to pay any tax. ठीक है, so as there is no tax, loss is there ना. ठीक है, so need not to pay the tax. You only have to pay the tax at the time of gain. ठीक है, foreign exchange gain. Okay, so this was the first scenario, first case. Okay, but what happens if it was done in forward cover? We know what is this now. Okay, we have read in SFM and all, and we have done the treatment also there. Okay, so what if the scenario second says it is done in forward cover? Okay, as I told you, this is the purchase rate which is given $100 and this is the forward rate, okay, which is $102. Okay, now the loss is to be adjusted at the time of payment. I told you this. Okay, so first thing, in case of foreign cover, either it can be cancelled, it could be cancelled. Okay, if it is cancelled, the foreign cover is cancelled, then revenue expenditure is going to occur here. Okay, but what if the rollover forward cover, the SSC have rolled over the forward cover, then it is to be carry forward and it is going to be included in cost of acquisition. Okay, at the time of payment. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई. So far I have read these things कि देखो what is going to be rate, I know. ठीक है, at the time of purchase, I have the SSC have recorded at the absolute cost. So far I know this, okay, to show in the record, that's it, okay. But what about the payment? Definitely at the time of payment, again there are going to be two cases. First case, either gain is going to arise. If gain is going to arise, what you have to do, टैक्स को पे कर दो भैया, सीधी सीधी बात, ओके, बहस नको करो यहाँ पे आकर, ओके. व्हाट अबाउट लॉस आ गया तो कोई बात नहीं, बोला ना इनकम टैक्स वाले बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, सो नीड नॉट टू पे टैक्स, ओके ओके. Now the second case is about the forward cover. What if the transaction is done in forward cover? Why forward cover is done here? Do you know? If you know, comment below. ठीक है, okay. So far I know, you know that why this forward cover is done here, okay. So as I told you, if forward cover is cancelled, then the treatment is going to be revenue expenditure, okay. आपने को पता है revenue expenditure के साथ क्या होता है, we'll get the deduction, ठीक है. Whatever it's rollover, the forward cover is rollover, then the carry forward, it is going to be included in the cost of acquisition, ठीक है, कॉस्ट ऑफ, ठीक है, एट द टाइम ऑफ पेमेंट. इतनी बात भी मुझे समझ में आ गई है सो फार, ठीक है. दिस वॉज ईजी बिजी. नाउ व्हाट अबाउट द इंटरेस्ट, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज गेन और लॉस? सिंपल है, दिस इज गोइंग टू द सेम ट्रीटमेंट, आई नो इट वेरी वेल, ठीक है. सो इन दिस केस इट इज गोइंग टू बी अप टू पुट टू यूज द कॉस्ट ऑफ एसेट. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी व्हाट, अप टू पुट टू यूज इंटरेस्ट in cost of asset, ठीक है. It's going to be capitalized, I know this, ठीक है. And interest, foreign exchange gain or loss is going to happen, ठीक है. So second case, what about the other part, after put to use, that is going to be revenue expenditure, है ना. revenue expenditure का अपने को deduction मिल जाएगा, सीधी सीधी बात, क्यों बकवास कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. This was all about section 43A. Let's go for section 43AA and ICDS, okay. First thing, there are again two parts divided into, first the monetary item, second the non-monetary item, okay. Now we have to see how monetary items are recorded here, ठीक है. It is going to be recorded at the end on the closing rate. Let me say it again. For the monetary items under section 43AA and ICDS, it's going to be recorded at the end on closing rate, okay. What happens if gain or loss is going to arise? Definitely, what if the gain is arise, tax is to be paid, ठीक है. Then P&L में adjustment is to be done, ठीक है. If not, कुछ ना कुछ करने का ना, ठीक है. Then let's go for the non-monetary items for the 43AA and ICDS. For the fixed asset and immovable property, let me say it again, for the fixed asset and the immovable property, it's going to be recorded at what transaction rate? What about the inventory? We know this cost or NRV, whichever is less, ठीक है. This was all about 43A, 43AA and ICDS, okay. So let me read it very quick guys, ठीक है. Gain or loss on the exchange fluctuation to be recognized as per ICDS, subject to the provision of section 43A. Any gain or loss arise on the account of any change in foreign exchange rate shall be treated as an income or losses as the case may be, and such gain or losses shall be computed in accordance with ICDS notified under section 145 subsection 2. Applicability, gain or loss arise on the account of the effect of change in foreign exchange rate shall be respect of all foreign currency transaction including those related to monetary item, non-monetary item. क्या रिकॉर्ड करेंगे? डू यू रिमेंबर मैंने क्या बोला था? हाँ जी, इफ़ यू नो यू नो, नहीं तो फिर गलत बात, अभी बताया था मैंने. सेकेंड, ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द फॉरेन ऑपरेशन. थर्ड, फॉरवर्ड एक्सचेंज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, आई नो. फॉरेन एक्सचेंज ट्रांसलेशन रिजर्व, ठीक है. सो दीज थिंग्स हैव टू बी इंक्लूडेड हेयर, ठीक है. नाउ आई नो व्हाट इज गोइंग टू बी द ट्रीटमेंट फॉर दीज ऑल, ठीक है. सो होप सो अप टू दिस वॉज वेरी मच क्लियर टू यू गाइस, ठीक है. what is going to the treatment for each and everything. Forward के केस में क्या होना चाहिए, ठीक है. At the time of payment what should be the treatment. Okay, now let's go for section 43B. ठीक है. These are the certain payment to be allowed as deduction only on actual payment basis. इतने देर से हम यही बात कर रहे थे in last section 36 and all, ठीक है. We have read that it is going to be allowed on the basis of actual payment basis. है ना. There were some cases which we have already covered in section 36. ठीक है, that you are only going to get the deduction subject to कौन सा section 43B. Okay, now we are going to read what is all about this section 43B. Okay, here in the section there are going to be 8 point cover. ठीक है, and the last one is added, है ना. So let's read it very quick guys. It's very easy. ठीक है, so far we know we have already covered them in section 36. Majority we have covered in section 36. So it's going to be like बहुत easy to us. ठीक है, the deduction respect of specified sum shall be allowed in the following manners if the sum relates to any previous year for which payment has been made or before the due date of furnishing of the return of the income of that year. Deduction shall be allowed in the previous year to which it relate. In any other cases, deduction shall be allowed in the year of payment. Okay, so the sum covered under the sections are as follows. Number first, the sum is paid by the SEC by way of tax, duty, cess, fees. Let me say it again. Tax, just a second, tax, duty, cess, fees. Okay, now the question to you is whether GST going to come in this case or not. jaldi socho. And the answer is yes. As I told you, tax, duty, cess, fees, GST भी तो टैक्स ही है ना बाबा, इतना क्यों कंफ्यूज होने का. Okay, so it's going to be included by whatever name called under any law for the time being in force. So very first thing says about what? The sum payable by the SEC in any way of tax, duty, cess, fees, TDCF. ठीक है, TDCF in any form it's going to be allowed. ठीक है, okay. पेड बेसिस, एक्चुअल पेड बेसिस, कौन सा सेक्शन? सेक्शन 43B है भैया. ओके, लेट्स गो फॉर द एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूशन टू PF. रिमेंबर ग्रेच्युटी फंड, सुपरएन्युएशन फंड. यस, so employer contribution to what? PF, superannuation fund, gratuity fund or any other fund for the employer welfare of the employees. बिफोर ड्यू डेट की बात की थी या नहीं की थी? रिटर्न की बात की थी कि नहीं की थी? अंडर सेक्शन 139 सब सेक्शन 1. रिमेंबर? येस. सो व्हाट अबाउट द एम्प्लॉय कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन? आर वी गोइंग टू इंक्लूड इट? Nakko re baba. Employ for the employee contribution. Do you remember in section 36 we have already covered that for the employee contribution I'm talking about. Okay, the due date is going to be about as per the fund date, fund last date. ठीक है, बट इन दिस केस द ड्यू डेट कौन सा होगा? रिटर्न वाला डेट ना भैया. हाँ जी. सो हियर द एम्प्लॉय कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन विच इज रिलेटेड टू PF, सुपरएन्युएशन और ग्रेच्युटी फंड. इतनी बात, नो बकवास. ओके, विच इज रिलेटेड टू वेलफेयर ऑफ व्हाट? वूम, द एम्प्लॉय की बात कर रहे. ओके, C point says the bonus or commission to whom? To the employees for services rendered as referred under section 36 subsection 1 clause 2. So bonus or commission भी covered है. I know this because I already covered in section 36. Okay, so let's go for this part. We interest on any loan or borrowing from whom? From, let me write here, from public financial institution. Okay, from state financial corporation, from state industrial investment corporation or scheduled bank or cooperative bank or any other primary agriculture credit society or primary cooperative credit society की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, agriculture and rural development bank. ठीक है, so if the interest of loan or borrowing is done from these things, then only it's going to be allowed. And with this there is one more point which is NBFC notified by central government as per the agreement. ठीक है, as per the central government agreement. So in this case NBFC is also included. Okay, there is other point for NBFC but I have mentioned here also. ठीक है, so confuse नको होने का. When the interest of any loan or borrowing is specifically from these institution, public financial institution, state financial corporation, ठीक है, by NBFC which is notified by central government on basis of agreement between them, or any scheduled bank, cooperative bank, primary agriculture credit society, primary cooperative agriculture and the rural development bank. ठीक है, so on the basis of actual payment it's going to be allowed. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई ना? ओके, सो लेट्स गो फॉर दी अदर पार्ट. दिस इज अबाउट लीव एंड कैशमेट. ओके, सो दिस द सम पेबल एज एम्प्लॉयर इन द लीव ऑफ एनी लीव एट एम्प्लॉयज. ठीक है, दैट वुड बी लीव encashment here. And this NBFC I already covered in the last part, ठीक है. So this is the same thing which is written here, ठीक है. Now the next point says any sum payable by SSC to the Indian Railway for the use of railway asset. अब ये क्या बोल रहे हैं, ठीक है. Why the SSC is going to pay the Indian Railway amount for their for the use of railway asset? Let me give the example. For example, advertisement. If SSC want to give any advertisement specifically on the railway, ठीक है, if they want to use the railways asset, then definitely you have to pay. You have to pay to whom? Indian Railway ना भैया, इंडिया में कर रहे हो ना आप advertisement. This is one of the example, ठीक है. So let's take DDLJ वाले example, है ना, वहाँ पे भी तो shooting हुई थी ना, हाँ जी. So if any SSC, any sum payable by the SSC to the Indian Railway for the use of what? Indian railway asset. This is specifically we are talking about India here, okay. So this is also going to be included here. So this was new point for us, okay. Let's go for the another new point which is added in this section, that is sum payable to micro or small or medium enterprises. MSME की बात कर रहे हैं, beyond the time limit under section 15 of MSME, okay. Let me read it quick, then I'll tell you what is this, ठीक है. So sum payable to MSME beyond the time limit under section 15 of MSME shall be allowed as a deduction only in the previous year in which such amount is actually paid by him. What is this about the section 15 saying about MSME? MSME at section 15 what is saying? Let me say it again. Section 15 says if within 45 days, ठीक है, इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइस द पेमेंट इज टू बी मेड. मतलब क्या बोल रहे हैं? अगेन लेट मी टेल यू, वंस द इनवॉइस इज इशूड, once the invoice is issued, within the next 45 days payment is to be released by the SSC. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई, हाँ जी. But in some other cases, some of the cases, the payment is to be made within 15 days. ठीक है, in some cases they are, ठीक है, but in normal cases they are 45 days, ठीक है. The gap is just 45 days. In that time limit the payment is to be released by the SSC, okay. Otherwise this section will prevail. कौन सा section 43B, ठीक है. Deduction allowed when actual payment is done. सीधी बात है, ठीक है. If the payment is not done before 45 days or 15 days, ठीक है, of what? The issue of invoice. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई, हाँ जी. Then if it is not done, then definitely this section is going to prevail here, as the deduction is only going to be allowed by the SSC on actual paid basis under section 43B. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई, हाँ जी, मुझे आ गई. Now let's go for the note. If such amount is actually paid or before due date under section 139 subsection 1 in which liability was incurred, deduction will be allowed in previous year in which liability was actually incurred. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई, कोई बात नहीं. Let's forget about the due date, ठीक है, respective of these points. But what if the SSC have paid these points which we have read, ठीक है, the payment before the due date under section 139 subsection 1, then also that the deduction would be allowed in that year in which liability was occurred, ठीक है, if you have paid before due date. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई, हाँ जी. But this point is not going to be covered for the MSME वाला part, ठीक है जी, हाँ जी. Okay, so this was all about section 43B. okay, actual paid basis बहुत पढ़ लिया, आप समझ में आ गया ना, हाँ जी. So let's go for section 43C, where the capital asset became property of SSC. ठीक है, how it's going to become the property of SSC? Let me read it again. Where the capital asset is going to be property of the SSC under amalgamation, partial of the HEF, partition of the HEF, gift, will, irrevocable trust. ठीक है, in these cases what is going to be happen? ठीक है, the transfer, in this case the transfer is going to be happen, ठीक है, as stock in trade. Earlier it was capital gain, ठीक है, later on the SSC converted into stock in trade. Now we have to find out what is going to be value here, what is going to be cost of acquisition here, as it was not the asset of the SSC earlier, ठीक है. Either it is taken by the SSE in under amalgamation or partition of HUF or gift, will, irrevocable trust, ठीक है, and it is transferred in stock in trade. So the cost of acquisition of stock is going to be this: cost of acquisition of said asset to be amalgamated company, transferor or donor, whatever the cost was actually by the previous owner, ठीक है, whether let's take by will, ठीक है, or gift, irrevocable trust, amalgamation, partition of HUF, ठीक है, in all the cases whatever the cost was by previous owner is to be taken. But with that we are going to add something which we know: cost of improvement made there, if any, if there was any cost of improvement done, ठीक है, or which another point is going to say that expenditure incurred in connection with the transferor, ठीक है, affecting the partition, acceptance of gift, obtaining property in respect of will, creation of trust, gift, tax paid by amalgamating company, transfer or donor. So सीधी बात, cost of the previous owner, ठीक है, with that we are going to add cost of improvement, and with that if you have done any of the, if you have incurred any of the expenditure, ठीक है, that is also going to be incurred here. Okay, so जी, this was all about section 43C. Let's go for section 43CA. This you know, ठीक है, so I'm just going to read it, ठीक है, which we already know this thing, which is related to somehow capital gain वाला chapter, ठीक है, so I'll read it, you will easily understand. Special provision for the full value of consideration for the transfer of the asset other than the capital asset in certain cases, where the consideration for the transfer of asset other than capital asset, being land, building or both, is less than the stamp duty value. Let me read it again. Where the value of land, where the value of building or both, which is less than stamp duty value, then what is going to be the value which we are going to take? Okay, this is basic a question which used to arise in here. So this is the answer: the value so adopted or assessed or assessable, that is stamp duty value. But there are some certain cases here, okay, shall be deemed to be full value of consideration for the purpose of computing income under head profit and gain of business or profession. However, if stamp duty value does not exceed 110% of the consideration received or the accruing, then such consideration shall be deemed to be full value of consideration for the purpose of computing profit and gain from the transfer of such asset. So first thing, I know that for this land and building or both, we are going to take stamp duty value as full value, the full value of consideration, what you want to take, ठीक है. But what if we are only going to take stamp duty value if it exceed 110% of the actual consideration? इतनी बात समझ में आ गई. What if it do not exceed actual consideration 110%? In that case, actual consideration will be the full value of consideration, right? इतनी बात समझ में आ गई. हाँ जी. So this was all about this section, ठीक है. And there is something more written here further, where the date of agreement fixing the value of consideration for transfer of the asset and the date of registration of transfer of asset are not same, the stamp duty value may taken as date of agreement for the transfer instead of on the date of registration for such transfer, provided at least part of consideration has been received by way of any account pay check, account pay bank draft, or use of electronic clearance system through bank account or through any other prescribed electronic mode or before the date of agreement, ठीक है. So this was easy busy and we know this, ठीक है. So hope so this was clear to you. Let's go for the other section, important section, which is of 43CB, the computation of income from construction and service contract. Okay, so these two cases scenario is going to be different, ठीक है, for the construction contract and for the service contract under section 43CB. Okay, so for the construction contract, we know, ठीक है, we have already read this in CFR, ठीक है. Somehow you know everything is connected to each other, na, every subject is connected to each other. If you know. Okay, so let's go for construction contract, ठीक है, under section 43CB ICDS 3, which is going to be recognized as per percentage of completion method, ठीक है, as per the completion of contract is done, ठीक है, it is to be recognized as per कौन सा ICDS 3 and section 43CB, which is related to contract, construction contract, ठीक है. So this was all about the construction contract. Let's go for the service contract. Now it is to be recognized as percentage of completion method. अरे बाबा, these two are same. मतलब for the construction contract and for the service contract, treatment is same. नको रे, this little bit different. ठीक है. As I told you, for the construction and service contract, it is to be recorded on what percentage of completion. ठीक है, completion of method. ठीक है. But for the service contract there is some two exception. First, when the duration of contract is not within 90 days. If it is exceeding 90 days, then for sure the SSC can go for percentage of completion method. Okay, but what if the duration of contract is not within 90 days? Then project completion method is to be taken. What is this project completion method? Okay, the SSC is going to be recognized on service contract, on the end of the service, on the completion of the project. ठीक है. So at the last the SSC is going to recognize it. इतनी बात समझ में आ गई ना. हाँ जी. So this was the first case. Duration is less than 90. More than, सीधी सीधी बात, no बकवास. Percentage of completion method is to be taken. ठीक है ना. हाँ जी. So let's go for the second exception. Contract involved in determine number of act over a specific period of time. Now what are they saying? Internal audit की बात कर ले क्या? हाँ जी. So when the contract involve indeterminate number of act over a specific period of time, then in that case straight line method over period is going to be taken for the recognition. ठीक है. So for services, for both the cases we are going to take recognize at what percentage of completion method, but for the service contract there are two exception. ठीक है. For the duration is less than 90. ठीक है. In that case project completion method. For the second, indeterminate number of act over the specific period, we are going to take straight line method over the period. So let's read it, guys. I'm going to read it from here. ठीक है. With duration of not less than 90 days shall be determined on basis of project completion method involving, second case, the involving indeterminate number of act over a specific period of time shall be determined on the basis of straight line method. Easy busy था. हाँ जी. So what is going to be treatment for retention money and incidental income? For the purpose of percentage of completion method, project completion method or straight line method referred above, in case of revenue, contract revenue shall include the retention money also. Okay. Sometime in the question we will given the different things, following things. So in that case we have to take the retention money also for the contract. I'm talking about the contract basis. Okay. Okay. Contract revenue. Second, the contract cost shall not reduce by incidental income by nature of interest, dividend or capital gain की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. For these three, treatment is to be done differently. ठीक है. This is not to be included in the contract cost. So definitely which is to be reduced by any of the incidental income in form of dividend, interest or the capital gain. ठीक है. It is to be reduced. Okay. Taxability of interest on VAT and doubtful debt in case of public financial institution, scheduled bank, incurring cooperative bank other than the primary agriculture credit society or the primary cooperative agriculture and rural development bank or the public company and deposit taking non-banking financial company are systematically important non-deposit taking. ठीक है. So far hope so this part was cleared. ठीक है. So let's go for section 43B. Which is non-banking financial institution. Here such interest by whom? By the non-financial interest वाले interest की बात कर रहे हैं, non-NBFC की बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. ठीक है. For the section 43D, such interest shall be chargeable to tax in the previous year in which credit or receive, whichever is earlier. Which is earlier by what following means they are saying. First, the credit which is credited by SSC to its P&L account or actual received by the SSC. Okay, whichever is earlier is to be taken here. ठीक है. So this was all about these sections. So let's go back and let's cover the two section here, guys, which I left behind. Okay, here is about section 41, which is profit chargeable to tax. Section 41 subsection 1, which is chargeable under PGBP. Okay. As we have read in section 36, what about the bad debt what is going to be treatment, right? Are we going to get the deduction? Yes, we are going to get the deduction. Acha, what about the provision of doubtful debt or the bad debt? Are we going to get the deduction? Nakure. Acha, these were the things which we already discussed in section 36. Now question to you is, what if the recovery against any deduction is occurred? What if bad debt recovered? What is going to be happen? So in this section we are going to read it. Okay, recovery against any deduction. This section applies if both the conditions listed below are fulfilled. Any expenditure, losses or trade liability has been allowed as a deduction in any previous year. Subsequently, there is a recovery of such expenditure or losses or trading liability either in cash or in any other manner or any mode. Okay? By way of remission of liabilities also. Okay? So the amount of recovery is chargeable to tax in the year of receipt, whether the business is in consistence or not in the year of recovery. So it is going to be included in what? Our income. Okay? And at last, this section is simply saying whether the business is in existence or not. That is going to be your income now. It is to be included here. Okay? What if the recovery against any deduction is done? Definitely it's going to be add back. Simple बात समझ में आ गई ना? हाँ जी. Let's go for section 41 subsection 2. ठीक है? There are many points covered in this section. So one by one I'm going to read it. Okay. The provision applies only to the company where they are engaged in the generation and distribution of power which have opted to charge depreciation on the SLM basis. The difference between WDV है, of the asset and sale price is going to be taxed under PGBP. We know this. As a balance to charge if such asset is subject to depreciation on SLM basis. The excess of sale over the actual cost of the asset is not related as balancing charge. Such excess amount is subject to capital gain. These things which we have already covered, that is discussed here. ठीक है? So confused तो वैसे ही नहीं होंगे because this is easy and we already covered them. Okay, so let's go for 41 subsection 3. So related to scientific research वाला point. ठीक है? Scientific research asset sold without using for the purpose of any other business. Where any asset which has been used for scientific research is sold without using for the purpose of any other business, least of the following shall be taxable. As I know, it's going to be taxable. ठीक है? If it is sold, okay, if it is sold or if it is not used for the purpose it has taken. ठीक है? So what is going to be the taxability amount here? ठीक है? Sale price of asset or the deduction allowed under section 33, whichever is lower is to be taken. ठीक है? The capital gain shall arise if the sale price exceed the cost of asset. Sure. Capital gain shall be long term if the asset was sold after a period of 3 years. Otherwise, capital gain shall be the short term. So this was all about the scientific research. ठीक है? The deduction taxability amount is going to be either sale price or the allowed expenditure under section 35, whichever is lower. Okay. So what about the bad debt? Same, if it is recovered, it's going to be taxable in the year which we recovered, which we received. When a debt has been allowed as a deduction to section 36 subsection 1 clause 7 and subsequently the SSC recover any amount in respect of such bad debt, the amount of recovery shall be taxable in the year of recovery. Okay. Section 41 subsection 4 is of the income tax 1961 where the deduction has been allowed in respect of special reserve created and maintained under section 8 of subsection 1 of clause 36. Any amount subsequently withdrawn from such a special reserve shall be deemed to be profit and gain of business or profession and accordingly to chargeable to income tax as the income of previous year in which it was withdrawn. इतनी बात समझ में है. Remember, if it is not used for the special purpose, special reserve which it was created, then for sure if withdrawn, if it is not used, then it's going to be taxable, right? Okay. Okay, hope so this part was also clear guys. ठीक है, let's go for the adjustment of laws under section 41 subsection 5. We are reading the same part, just the section subsection clause is different. ठीक है, section is same here. Okay, so generally laws of business cannot be carried forward after 8 years. An exception is however provided by section 41 subsection 5. Exception is applicable to the following condition. Number 4, the business is actually discontinued. Let me read it again guys. With the laws of business cannot be carried forward after 8 years. बात समझ में आई? The laws of business cannot be carried forward after 8 years. But some of the exception where the business is discontinued. ठीक है, okay. Loss of such business or profession pertaining to the year in which discontinued could not be set off against any other income of the year. Third, the business is not a speculation business. Okay. After discontinuation of a business or profession, there is a receipt which is deemed as business income under section 41, subsection 1, subsection 3, subsection 4 or 4A. The unabsorbed loss pertaining to the year in which business profession were discontinued is permitted to the set off against notional business income under section 41, subsection 1, 3, 4, 4A even after 8 years. इतनी बात तो समझ में आ गई है. इट कैन बी सेट ऑफ इवन इफ रिटर्न ऑफ लॉस इज नॉट सबमिटेड इन द टाइम. ओके, सो लेट्स गो फॉर द लास्ट सेक्शन ऑफ दिस lecture, section 42, which is related to special provision of deduction in case of business for prospecting etc. or the mineral oil, infrastructures or the exhaustive exploitation expenses in respect of any surrendered prior to the beginning of commercial production by the SSC, where the expenditure incurred by SSC whether before or after commercial production in respect of drilling, exploitation activity or the services or in respect of physical asset used in that connection, depletion of mineral oil in the mineral mining area in respect of the asset assessment year relevant to the previous year in which the commercial production is begun and for such succeeding years specified in the agreement. ठीक है, so there is not much written in this section. ठीक है, so I just read out guys, there was nothing more important here. ठीक है, so far we have covered I guess 6 7 section in this lecture. ठीक है, hope so this was clear to you. Okay, so for this part is definitely important guys, and for this we have already, for the section 41 we have already covered major part. In section 36 this is what is going to be treatment, what if the recovery of losses is happened. ठीक है, so simply it's going to be taxable. ठीक है, nothing much new here. ठीक है, so we should know what is going to be treatment for specifically like scientific research and all. ठीक है, you have to read it just. ठीक है, इतना difficult नहीं है, and just read this part also, it's not that difficult, or I mean that's not even that important too. ठीक है, and for the actual payment basis we have to just go through, because majorly I told you that section we have already covered these sections in 36 section. ठीक है, as they are simply saying कि it is going to be done on the basis of actual payment, बस simple है. ठीक है, so we know these things. Okay, so what about, हाँ, this was something new. ठीक है, this you have to keep in mind. And what is going to be the cost of acquisition for stock in trade? Simple है. ठीक है, what is about the cost of previous owner, and with that the improvement is to be included. ठीक है, cost of improvement, with that if any of the expenditures done by the SSC. इतनी भी बात मुझे आती है. Okay, this stamp duty value for the 43 CA we are going to take. ठीक है, if it exceed 110% of the actual cost, otherwise actual cost is going to be market value, full value of consideration. Okay, so what about the CB? This is to be, you have to keep it. Okay, what is going to be treatment for the construction and the service contract? That's it, nothing much. Okay, so hope so this was useful for you. It was. Yes, if it was, what you have to do, hit a like button, subscribe my channel, and yes, share my channel to those who are doing CA, CS, CMA. ठीक है, and sorry for the disturbance, you can hear पटाखों की आवाज़ आ रही है. sorry दिवाली है. ठीक है, so happy Diwali to you. ठीक है, and to your family, hope you are doing your revision. ठीक है, spend time with your family, है ना, पूजा पाठ करिए, वापस आइए, पढ़ाई करिए. That's it. ठीक है, and we'll meet in our next video. तब तक के लिए पढ़ते रहिए, सब्सक्राइब करते रहिए, लाइक करते रहिए जो कि करते नहीं हैं, एंड शेयर करते रहिए. ठीक है, टुडल्स गाइस.